Hey guys, thanks for joining me. So today I am actually switching it up a little bit. And the topic I'm covering is tips for thriving through the winter, not just surviving. I just felt like this was all coming to me. This is stuff I know, but I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about. I just do it. And as I went for a run this morning and was outside running, I'm trying to get back into that. I let myself just play on my bike all summer long mostly, but I want to still be a runner. So I've been doing that a little bit here and there. And I was out there and the sun was shining and I was taking in the fresh air. And I just felt like I believe it was the Lord just bringing it to my mind, the benefits of all of this and why it's so important and why it's really good that I'm doing it now early in the season. And then as it just all this stuff kept coming to me as I was running, I was like, I need to share this with people because it's a major struggle. It's such a struggle for so many. We live in Pennsylvania, or maybe you're watching this, you live somewhere else that's cold. And most of the people here that I know have lived here their whole life and they're still like really frustrated. Every winter it's hard for them. And I mean, there is literally, some people can really have like seasonal depression with that. It makes sense. We get less sunlight as the sun's just like shining right in my eyeballs right now. But, it's a real thing, but we can overcome that. And I've learned to do this a long time ago. And yes, there's still points maybe around February, March that I start to be like, okay, enough already. But I'm not struggling the whole way through it. And I want to share that with you because it's important. So I'm going to give you some tangible tips and knowledge, like science-backed knowledge on some of this. But then it's also spiritual. There is a spiritual connection here because, I've been talking to you guys about the renewing of your mind and how important that is. And in that, we have to be protective of our mind and our thoughts and our feelings, because our thoughts then provoke the feelings and all this. And so the Bible tells us, to renew our mind, to take our thoughts captive, all of that. Well, the winters here have a real likelihood to throw us off mentally and then emotionally. A lot of people struggle with that. And then also, it's also biblical, what I'm going to share, because we're supposed to take care of our bodies. God gave it to us. The Holy Spirit dwells inside of us. Our body is a temple. We should take good care of it, So I'm going to share how to do that, how to take care of your mind and your body through these hard winters. This one might be a hard one. It's kind of looking like it might be a little tougher than the last few, And so hang with me. I know some of you just are going to probably write some of this off, but so what I find is like typically the process for Pennsylvanians and other cold places, I'm sure, is we have this tendency to want to hibernate. You're probably already feeling that desire, and there's something natural to that, something biological there. But I really encourage you, and really I can't stress this enough, that you want to start actively battling that desire now. Don't wait till after Christmas. It'll get harder, not easier to do it then. Start now and just battle that desire. I'm going to talk to you about what that looks like and how we can battle it. But it's like what we do. We spend this whole winter kind of like comforting ourselves and lulling ourselves through the winter to deal with it. And what that does is it gradually lulls us or comforts us into a depression. And then then spring comes, and it's like this whole process for people then to like drag themselves out of that pit of depression and just start to recover and start to kind of get their equilibrium back and feel less depressed. And then it's still depressing because then they have to undo whatever they did to themselves all winter long. And it's like, then suddenly it's like halfway through the summer and they're finally feeling like themselves again, realizing the school year's about to start already. Oh my gosh, fall's here. Oh my gosh, winter's coming. Like they can't even enjoy when the season they're in because of that. And so I just want to kind of help you guys try to break free from this vicious cycle that you might be in. because it sucks. I've done it at times over my life, and it's not a fun process to be in. So, what we do, we like comfort ourselves with comfort food, comfort clothing, comfort TV, all kinds of those things. And I'm not saying that's bad as a whole. We're going to talk about balance and all of this, I'll get to that. But, and one of the things, the first thing to do, I'm going to point out in this process is to break although I'm going to talk a lot about the sun today and its benefits, it's like I can't see very well. So, we want to break the all or nothing cycle. That's across the board, winter or not, of course, but like whether that's you're trying to work out, you're trying to eat better, you're trying to get into your Bible more, you're trying to pray more, whatever it is that you're trying to include into your life. My goodness. So whatever that is, we have this tendency to have this mentality where it's all or nothing. And it's really helpful to break that. So if you're trying to work out more, just because you can't crush your body in an hour and a half workout or whatever, doesn't mean it's not valuable. This has been very helpful for me to learn. There's been seasons in my life where I was just pulled in way too many directions to be doing those old workouts that I did all the time. And if I would have allowed myself to take that all or nothing mentality, I would have been way worse off. Literally being able to do 20 push-ups and some squats, whatever, is better than nothing. But like today, by the time I got myself moving to go run, it was like I didn't have a lot of time. I did a 1.6 mile run. You can allow yourself to just do what you can and appreciate that and celebrate that. So, and same way with like trying to read your Bible. Just because maybe you don't sit down and you don't have the carved out time that you want it to be, doesn't mean you don't sit down and read a verse, something. So just encourage you to start there. Really try to be mindful of the tendency that you might have to that all or nothing, and just try to break that and try to break free from it. Ask the Lord to help you with that process. And then get moving. Get moving in some sort of way. It's even better if you can get moving outside, and we're going to talk about that. So, and I know that's that tendency. We want to hibernate. We want to go inside where it's comfortable, where it's warm, cozy up, put all these layers on. That's fun to do sometimes, but honestly, we're not created. God didn't create us to be inside behind these walls all day long like that. And we should be getting outside when we can. And even in the winter, just bundle up, layer up. If you're moving your body, you will get warm. You'll get hot, depending on the degree to how much you're pushing your body. I'm usually pretty sweaty after I've been running, so you layer up enough, you will get warm. And it's okay if you're not warm when you first start, because if you're going to be moving, that's okay. That's not such a bad thing. I'm going to talk about that and why it's not a bad thing to allow yourself to have that like cold moment. But getting outside, because it gives you fresh air, it gives you sunshine, which we're desperately lacking in the winter, and the vitamin D that we get from that. And then it also balances your nervous system. And so that first one, getting fresh air, you might think, I don't want to breathe in the cold air. It's going to hurt my lungs. Well, what I do is I use a cough drop. I always suck on a cough drop when I'm running or whatever outside. You can also or do like, I call it my ninja mask, I forget what they call it now, but when it comes up over, I would encourage you not to get a real thick one. I'd go with something thinner, just because, especially if you are running and exerting yourself a lot, you're going to be breathing hard and it'll get real wet and kind of sweaty. I do like a thin one. It's just enough to keep the warmth in, so you're not breathing in the cold air as much. Keeps your nose warm. Cough drop's really good for protecting your lungs too. It helps a lot. Just if you're sucking a lot of wind, be careful you don't choke on it, of course. And in the sunshine part, like I mentioned, so don't wear sunglasses when you go out, because you're like, oh, well, if I'm bundling up, I'm not getting sun anyway. Even if I have my ninja mask on, my eyes are exposed, and we actually absorb more sunlight and vitamin D through our eyes than we do our skin anyway. So don't wear eye protection so much. Even like when you're driving and stuff, if you can see well enough, don't put it on. Let yourself absorb that sun, especially during these months, okay? It's important. Vitamin D does a lot of things for our mental health. It gives us energy as well, and we're going to be short on it in these next few months here. So, oh, sorry, just thinking. Oh, the other thing too is that getting in that sunlight, it helps regulate our circadian rhythm. So it's going to help you sleep better at night. You know, when you think about it, this is not the way we were created to be functioning, where we're inside all day, blocking, not getting light. Even when people do go outside, a lot of times they're wearing sunglasses, so they're not even getting it. And then in the evening, we have all this artificial light, and especially nowadays, now people are using all the technology. So then we're just flooding all day long, we're blocking the sunlight. Then in the evening, we're flooding ourselves with artificial light. And then it's no wonder insomnia is like through the roof in our society. Our brains aren't understanding. Our brains are literally confused when it's day and night. And people are yawning all day long, and then they're up at night and they can't sleep. That can help with that. Get sunlight in through the day. Sometimes too, they have like light boxes, that's like light therapy boxes that you can get. You know, you don't want to look right in it, but you can have it exposed to you to help with that as well. Also, you know, getting the natural light, of course, is the best option but of course, like in MPA, sometimes we can go a good span with having very little of that. It's very overcast sometimes. So supplementing too with vitamin D, that's really good to do. If you're going to do that though, make sure you get K2 as well. I know it's vitamin most people have never even heard of, but trust me, you can get some of the supplements that have D3 and K2 combined. That's what I get. You can get them separate, doesn't matter, as long as you're getting them both in you at the same time. Because otherwise your body does not absorb much of the vitamin D. The K2 is necessary for helping you absorb it. And I actually know this works very well, because when I was like listening to this training on nutrition and mental health that I was taking, and it's a naturopath that does it, and she talked about the importance of K2, and I'd never heard of that. And my doctor had been regulating, like watching my D vitamins and my blood work, and I was taking it every day, and he was still saying it was really low, and I was like, ugh. So once I started taking that, the next time I went back to him, it was like really high. He was like, whoa, very impressed with your D now. So it actually makes a big difference. So what else? Also, you know, like opening your blinds more at your house, letting the light in, that's helpful. Sorry, I have chicken scratch everywhere. I did this morning real quick. Oh, and then the other thing I mentioned is the balancing of your nervous system. So, okay, our autonomic nervous system has two parts. It has the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Okay, so the sympathetic nervous system is like, so when you feel really anxious, that means your sympathetic is turned on really high. So if like this is your emotional baseline, sympathetic gets activated, you're like up here. When we turn it on just a little bit, when we use it in reason, it's what motivates us for life. It's very important. It's what makes us get out of bed, you know, and care to do those things. The parasympathetic part of your nervous system is the calming part, the soothing part. And so sometimes, you know, what I'm teaching people to do in counseling is, when they have a lot of anxiety, is to help them to recognize their sympathetic is in overdrive, and they need to activate their parasympathetic through different types of breathing techniques. There's a whole variety of options for doing that, for activating that, often through the vagal nerve. But anyway, my point in bringing that up is, it is not a bad thing for us to get that discomfort feeling of the cold rush. You know, so for instance, like this morning when I went out, I stepped outside and I almost went back in to add another layer, because I was like, my arms are cold, you know? And I was like, hey baby, stop it. But it's good to start that way, to have at least, and sometimes I forget this, I'll want to overlayer, but sometimes it's not bad to start with like feeling that chill, because what that's doing is it activates the sympathetic part of our nervous system, which motivates us for life. Remember, it energizes us. It's a good thing. And so it has that feeling, and as you go and as I'm breathing through it, what's going on is it's balancing your nervous system real nicely, and then it gives you more energy for the day, which we really need in the winter. Because most of you, what you're doing, I think, is through all that comfort food, comfort clothes, comfort everything, is you're giving yourself what you would need if you were like in overdrive, maybe with your sympathetic. But a lot of times you're not. You're more in depressive mode because of the winter. And when we add too much like relaxing, comforting things in those moments, it actually brings us below baseline, if that makes sense. And then you become more depressed, and you sleep more, and you isolate more, and all of that. So there's times when we need something soothing and calming. Then there's times when we're low emotionally, and we need something to that startles our nervous system, basically. And that's where, like, I don't know if you've heard, but like has been really popular. They call it like cryotherapy or cold exposure therapy. It could be cold water. It could be, they have like these cold cryotherapy chambers or whatever that you can go to and pay to sit in. And people, this is not just people that go out for like polar bear plunge and jump in and jump out real quick. This is people that are doing it consistently on a regular basis. They're like submerging themselves in these ice baths. And so what they're doing in that, and you can do your own variation of this too. When you're in the shower, turn the hot water off, or just even start with just turning it down and making it cooler, and just gradually adjust to it until, but if you get that shock value, it's not a bad thing. Feel the shock of like the cold water, and then breathe through it. And what you're doing is a sympathetic gets turned on, and then you're breathing through it, and you're working through it, and you're activating the calming part, the parasympathetic. So it's doing this nice like process. I don't know what that sound effect was supposed to be, but it helps balance you back out, and that's a good thing. And people that I know, like my clients, when they struggle with depression a lot, they find that very helpful. It helps motivate them and helps clear their mind. It's good for your mental health, your physical health. It helps with inflammation and all kinds of things in your body. And again, inflammation, as I mentioned, that's also a big part in these winter months, because I know I'm telling you to get sun, but that's driving me crazy. So, in these winter months, you're going to have probably more inflammation because you're eating more of those comfort foods with the holidays. High sugar foods are really inflammatory. Sugar is terrible for us, refined sugar especially. And so that cold water therapy, taking that cold shower, that can help with that. So yeah, going out, feeling that like, that cold air and kind of being startled by it's not a bad thing. So anyway, what else? I know that there's probably going to be a lot of people that are like, well, good for you, Danielle, you don't have kids. Okay. I don't, but I know a lot of people that do. In fact, most of my workout buddies have multiple children. They're very busy. Their kids are in all kinds of activities. The thing is, they make it a priority. That's all it is. Like, yes, I might have more time than they do, but they still do it. Again, that breaking that all or nothing is really important, especially the busier you are, whether it's your job that has you busy, your kids, whatever it might be, or you just don't want it to be. You don't need to do this all the time, but you want to incorporate more of it, allowing yourself to do it even when it's not this extreme place is important and helpful. So like my friends that are moms or dads or whatever that have all these responsibilities, they have to make it a priority, so maybe they might have to get up earlier to do it. Or like my one girlfriend, my one running buddy, a lot of times I would meet her at where her kids would have swim lessons, and she was allowed, as long as she was still on that property, to go outside, and we would go and we'd run the track that was right outside of it, the university. so she found ways. And, I've had other friends be at like soccer practice, and they're running around the soccer field and they're inviting other moms to do it, or walking around the soccer field, whatever. You just have to be more creative, and yes, your kids will survive if you don't see every single moment of their practice. I mean, I get the games, you don't want to miss something, but your kids will be okay if you don't see every moment of their practice, right? Because it's all balance. I don't mean you necessarily have to do this every time they're practicing, but once a week or whatever, whatever you feels right for you is okay. And it's okay because it's going to keep mom or dad more sane for the children. You're going to be in a better mood after their practice, and dealing with getting them home, getting them fed, getting them ready for bed, all of that fun stuff, or homework or whatever, you're going to be better for it. So I encourage you to think of it that way. Like, even if it's little things like, say you have a really long driveway. It's one of my friends does that. They have a very long driveway, and so she'll just jog out to get her mail instead of stopping at the mailbox when you're pulling in. You can walk out to the mailbox, take your kids. It's just you're getting fresh air, bundle them up. They're getting fresh air. They love to be outside. They're getting the sunshine. They're getting the vitamin D. So are you. These are all good things. But yes, I understand. It's definitely more of a challenge. There's more obstacles for you as a parent, for sure. But you can do it. I see people doing it all the time, and I encourage you. You can. I promise. The other thing is what we feed ourselves. So food and other things. So yes, I just heard the statistic. It was actually in a DeWalt's magazine yesterday, and it said that when the temperature drops 35 degrees, when we have a temperature drop of 35 degrees or more, there is 11% increase of our food intake. And I was like, interesting. Makes sense. I think a lot of that's biological. Like I was saying earlier, there's some things working against us with this, but that just means we just have to be more on our game, So it's that awareness, like, I'm going to have more desire to take in more food right now. And because of that, I probably need to be extra aware of it. And so, doing things like increasing your healthy fats because of that, realizing, okay, I'm probably, there's a real reason why I'm wanting to, I don't know what's going on with my hair, a real reason why I'm wanting to take more food in. So if that's the case, healthy fats, proteins, they're just more fulfilling. They fill you up, they satiate you longer. Because if you're just doing like the empty carbs or, processed food that doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it, when you do that outside of winter, you just get hungry quicker because it's not doing a lot for you. It's not giving you what you need. So you couple that with this 11% increase, and there's a problem there, So being aware, like, I need to be even more on top of my game with these things, right? And looking at too, like, what we take in, what we feed ourselves information wise, like what's on the television. Am I listening to the news constantly? How much is the television on? Does it need to be on every night? Not judging, just suggesting things. What music am I and my kids listening to? How much social media? All of that is going to be extra important through this season, because we just have a tendency to get more depressed because of all these factors that I just talked about, so we just need to be on our game a little bit more. Now, I'm all about balance. I preach balance all the time. And so this is it's true for all of this too. It's finding the balance in it. I'm not saying you have to be perfect at this all the time. I love to, like, when it's really cold out, especially after, like, I've gone hunting or whatever, I love to come home and make like tomato soup or vegetable soup and toasted cheese sandwiches, grilled cheese sandwiches. I think toasted cheese is just like a term used by, like, a redneck term that I picked up. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure other people call it grilled cheese, but I love that. It's so good. And it's comfort food, it's warm, there's carbs in the bread, all of the cheese. But anyway, making myself hungry. or some sweets, you know. I have a big sweet tooth, but I do manage it. But it's doing these things with intention. I think that, you know, and it's not the normal, it's not the norm, it's the exception. Allowing yourself to do these things sometimes is good. Then it's actually way more enjoyable. Trust me, when you indulge in these things and it's with intention, because you're not because you earned it. I don't like that either, because we are training ourselves to have this relationship with food where it's a reward system. That's kind of dangerous. But it's because I haven't done a lot of damage to my body for a while. It's kind of more like that, the way I look at it. I've been putting such good things in it that it can handle this. I'm not going to do a lot of harm by indulging in this, so I can do it. I'm not hurting myself. It's not about like this being thin enough and all of that junk, you know. It's about, I've given myself so many nutrients and good things that it's going to tolerate this okay. And I'm not going to have this big hangover from it, like, you know, food hangover and sugar hangover and all that. So yeah, the same thing with like the TV and all of that, and how much, you know, sometimes, yes, I just want to like veg out on something mindless, but it's not the norm either, because we get in these ruts. I've seen it so many times in my profession, especially, like, where just then every day is like it's like Groundhog Day. You get up, you go to the work, you grind it out, you go home, you veg out, you eat comfort food, you eat too much sugar, which also makes you ache more, your joints ache, your brain's foggy because of it. You watch all this mindless TV, before you know it, it's bedtime. You get up and you do it all over again. And you're just feeding your depression. You're literally feeding your depression with food, with mindless television, all of that. And you're not doing yourself any benefit, really. You truly aren't. But like I said, though, when you do this and you're taking good care of yourself, or across the board for the most part, and then you allow these times, then they're just like, it's just like extra special. You feel like extra cozy, you know. I love to like do that sometimes and get in my comfy jammies and just nice and warm and escaping the cold and all of that. Yeah, it's great. Watch something that makes me laugh. I like to laugh a lot, so it's usually something, if I'm gonna go mindless and it's not mindless and it's not spiritual, if it's mindless and it's not spiritual, then it's something funny typically. So that's my thing, you know. But I don't do it every night, like, just because I know it's just rotting my brain, and it's just lulling me through, you know, and into a deeper depression and all those things. So I hope this is helpful, and I hope you'll take this in and understand it's not a judgment, but I've been there. I've been in that cycle, that kind of rut of just repeat over and over, and just you feel worse and worse and worse, and your body gets worse, and it's just like, ugh, it's not good. And I know there's a lot of people right now that are kind of entering into that process right now, and I just want to encourage you, break free, rely on the Lord. He will help you. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. So if you feel like this is not who you are, you can't do this is not me, I'm not that type, I don't like, He can transform you. He can give you the desires of your heart, like it says in the Psalms. He can put the desires of your heart, the correct desires, in there for these things, and you just ask him to. So hope that's a blessing for you guys, and I hope you are a striver this winter, not just a survivor. And I'll see you in the spring. All right, bye.